Can you believe a simple cup of tea and Vegemite on toast actually saved my life when I was a cop? More on that later. Let's go back to the story that really matters. One afternoon shift, I was out with my offsider, just patrolling around, doing a bit of random breath testing mobile later in the afternoon, about 10 o'clock at night, getting close to knock-off time. I went to pull this car over. The car decided not to pull over, accelerated. We ended up in a pursuit. Pursuit didn't take too long to get to the bush, and in the area I worked with, the locals knew all the bush tracks inside out. We wasn't too clever with them, but they knew them all inside out. They used to use the bush to get away from the police and the motorbikes and their cars, one thing or another. So they headed off for these bush trails, and it had been raining a fair bit at that point in time, so the tracks were fairly slick. It's sort of clayey area, very slick. So lots of sort of rally driver flat out in the SS Commodore trying to catch up with these two young blokes running flat out in this old Corolla. Anyway, we chased them for a fair while, and it's pretty hectic. It was full on, like, I was lock to lock and sideways and fishtailing, and my offsider said he'd never had so much fun. It's like being a rally champion for a few minutes there. So I suppose we chased them through the bush in and around all these tracks for about 10 minutes. Then we come up to these railway tracks where it's fairly hard to get over without getting stuck on the rails, and their motor blew up. Big puffs of oil smoke everywhere from the motor. That's where they stopped. We've still got the lights and sirens, and the lights are going. It's pitch black night. The lights are going. The sirens are going. My offsiders jumped out and started chasing the passenger. I've jumped out. The driver's jumped out. I've ran up to him. He's dropped something. He's picked it up. And what is it? It's a gun. So he's got a pistol. We didn't know they're on their way to do an armed robbery. And these blokes were armed robbery people. That's what they were well known for doing. So this is the problem. I'm now 2 to 3 metres from this fellow, and he has his gun played on my chest, and I have my gun pointed at him. So we've got this Mexican standoff, maybe 3 to 4 metres. A bit of distance, but too close really. The sirens are going, the blue lights are going. You see, it's a very surreal situation to be in. But he hasn't shot me. He still stood there with a gun. I'm still stood there with my gun. So we're in this awkward situation. Sadly as it seems, this may sound very bad to you. A lot of people would just say, Mick, you should have just shot him then and there. That's it. Bad luck. But I don't roll with those rules. I know a lot of these people's background, and they've had it tough on one thing or another. And the last thing I want to do is take someone's life if I don't have to. So I thought, well, I'm prepared to cop a bullet first. And I know that sounds terrible, but it does look better for cops if they get shot first before they shoot someone. That's a terrible position to be in. But moreover, I recognised who it was. It was a fellow that I'd had a conversation with, fairly intense conversation with, the fortnight before at the police station. I'd been on night work. He'd been in custody in our cells. He'd been fairly restless, kicking the door and carrying on as they do. Unfortunately, they like to cause a ruckus sometimes. The car crew went out. I was in the station by myself. He was in the cell there. I've gone up there to check on him, started having a bit of a conversation. He's come down to earth and that. And I thought, well, this fellow, he just wants someone to talk to, and I'm bored. I've done all my station work. I've caught up, so I've got nothing on. So I pulled up a chair beside the door, and we're having a bit of a chat about life. And I started to feel a bit hungry, and I said, mate, listen, do you want some Vegemite on toast or jam on toast or something and a cup of tea? And he's looked at me, he's gone, yeah, what are you going to do, spit in it? I said, no, I'm not going to spit in it. I'm not going to do anything in it. I just feel like a cup of tea, some Vegemite on toast. Do you want some? And he's looked at me, he's gone, you're going to do something to it. I said, I'm not going to do anything to it. Do you want some or not? He said, yes. So I said, okay, right, white with one, yep, good. Went down, made some Vegemite on toast, cups of paper plate obviously for him. Come back over to him. I'm sat there with mine, and he's crying. And I thought, why are you crying? And I said, mate, what's wrong? And he's looked at me, he's gone, no one's ever done anything nice like that for me before. I said, like what? Made you a cup of tea and some toast and Vegemite. He's gone, yeah, he said, no one's ever done anything nice like that for me before. I thought, oh my God, this is terrible. Anyway, we got into deep discussion, one thing and another, and he was telling me about his life and that. And this young fellow, I suppose he was in mid-20s. Like, I'm not saying he was a saint. There's no doubt in the world he wasn't a saint, but he was a product of his upbringing. And he told me stories about how he'd been raped by his father, bashed by his father, raped by his brothers, bashed by his brothers, raped continuously in jail, even though he's a big boy. Raped continuously in jail and bashed. And it's just such a sad story. Like, his life story was sad. It was terrible. And we spent a fair few more hours just going through our families and what happened as we were growing up, talking about trail bikes and racing cars and hotting up cars and all the things that young blokes did when they're younger. And he genuinely didn't seem a bad bloke to me. But he was a crook. Still a crook. And I'd managed to get myself in a situation now where this same fellow that I made a cup of tea and toast for now had a pistol plate on my chest, and we're in a Mexican standoff. So I'm looking at him and I'm thinking about his life being bashed and raped, and me probably going to end it any second by shooting him, which I would be quite entitled to do. But he also hasn't let a shot go either. And I found out later that's because it had become personal. A psychiatrist said to me, he said, mate, the only reason you're alive now is more than likely because it had become personal. He knew things about your life, you knew things about his life, neither of you wanted to end each other's lives. And I thought that is probably true. And in the end, what happened was I thought something's got to happen here. We can't just stand here all night with a gun. And of course I'm yelling, drop the gun, and all that sort of thing. And the lights are going off and the sirens are blowing off. It's the worst possible situation. Flash, flash, flash. Anyway, I thought something's got to be done here. So I thought I'll let a round go just above his head and see what happens. So I've let a warning shot go, which you should not do. You're not really by the police rules allowed to do it, but I thought it was a lot better option than just shooting him straight out. I thought I'll let a warning shot go and then see what happens. If he then shoots me, well, I'll shoot him, sort of thing. So I let this warning shot go above his head, far enough above his head that I knew it wasn't going to hurt him. And he's turned and he's ran off into the scrub. So I've chased him and I've lost him pretty quickly. These young blokes in this area, they know these bush tracks inside out. So I thought the best thing to do is get back to the police car, get on the air and call for the dog squad bloke, and we'll track him down with the dog squad bloke. So I did that. The dog squad bloke is a very good friend of mine. He turned up very quickly. Had a bit of trouble finding us because we're in the middle of this massive rural bushy area. But he found us, and his dog was a very good dog, very good at tracking people. So by now it's a bit after midnight, I suppose. We're out there. A bushfire had been through this area a few months before, so there's a lot of charcoal, timber and tea tree, a bit messy. And the dog handler's got his dog out the car, and the dog's on the scent straight away. So we've gone in the bush and the dog's on a long lead, so it's tracking him, and it's spun around. The dog's gone out, spun around. Then he's gone back behind my police car. And I thought, oh my God, this fellow has gone out into the bush and encircled and come back behind me. Now, he could have shot me from there without me having known, straight in the back. I wouldn't have known. and then the scent's gone back out again, and we've tracked it a couple of kilometres to a flat where he's arrested. Now these dogs, I tell you, when these dogs get going, they put them on a long leash of about 6-7 metres. The handler will tell them to seek, and they seek the scent, and they'll swing backwards and forwards. And when they get on the scent, they're off like a shot. And because they can run under the brush and the tea tree and all this, but you can't. So I got cuts all over me and black crud all over me from these bushfire affected trees. And a few times there the dog handler had told the dog to stop, and we've looked down to see if we could see tracks, see if we're actually on the money or not. And believe it or not, even in this swampy mess, there was clear footprints. This dog was incredible, straight on him. And like I say, we tracked him to this unit, and then after a fair bit of negotiating, we managed to get him out and arrested him, took him to the police station. He was charged with a number of offences, including some other offences that he'd committed the week before that I'd been involved with investigating, put 2 and 2 together and come up with 4, and hit him up for another high-speed pursuit the week before. But yeah, it's very interesting how simply making a cup of tea and some Vegemite on toast had saved my life, and having a decent one-on-one chat with this crook who was a baddie, but dealing with him as a normal person. And it had become personal. We knew a bit about each other's lives, and that saved my life. And it may have saved his life too, because maybe something up in here in my mind said, look, hang on a second, you don't want to end this fella's life after all he's been through. Like, come on. Simple things sometimes can make really big outcomes, and something certainly I'll never forget.